Now let us continue the discussion. The discussion which has been going on in the last lecture was on place of supply of services determination when location of the supplier as well as location of the recipient both are in India. When location of both these two parties, supplier as well as recipient, is in India, then place of supply of service is determined as per section 12. Now we have discussed uh, different cases of determining place of supply of services like accommodation, admission to certain events, beauty treatment services, organization of certain events. And now let me discuss the next topic, which is when goods transportation services are provided. If I have to shift from Delhi to Chennai, then I will hire a transporter who will shift my goods in a truck from Delhi to Chennai. It's a good transportation service. I will pay some amount and I will get the services of transporter. So in case of goods transport services, what are the rules? So let me show you the IGST Act again. Is this act visible? Is IGST Act visible? And this is my subsection 8. Is it visible or not? Is it visible or not?
Yes, it is.
Okay, now what it says? What are the rules of services which you hire for transportation of goods? The Act says, section 12, subsection 8, the place of supply of services by way of transportation of goods, including by mail or courier. So not only by truck if you are transporting the goods, even if you are transporting the goods through mail or through courier, then also the same rules are applicable. So it depends on what? Who is the recipient of those services? Is the recipient a registered person? Now clause A says if the recipient is a registered person, then location of the recipient is the place of supply. If the recipient is a registered person, then location of recipient is the place of supply. And similarly, if the recipient is not a registered person, then what is the place of supply? If recipient is a person other than a registered person, then the place of supply is the location at which such goods are handed over for their transportation. Then from where goods are being handed over to the transporter for transportation purpose, that becomes the place of supply. Then location of recipient doesn't matter. When you are an unregistered person and if you are availing the services of transportation of goods, then the place where goods are being handed over for the transportation becomes the place of supply. But this rule has an exception. This clause B has an exception. In case of registered person, if the recipient is a registered person, there is no problem. Location of the recipient is the place of supply. But if the recipient is not a registered person, then we have two different criteria. First, the place where the goods are handed over for their transportation is the place of supply. However, if this place or the place where goods have to be sent is a place which is outside India. Suppose someone is shifting from Delhi to Germany, and then the air transportation services are available to transport the goods from India to Germany. In that case, this rule will not be applicable. Where the goods are handed over for their transportation, no, this rule is not applicable. Then the rule is provided that where the transportation of goods is to a place outside India, if the goods are being handed over to anywhere but the destination of those goods is outside India, then this outside India is the place of supply. The place of supply shall be the place of destination of such goods. So, in reality, the purpose of this is to make sure that GST is not levied whenever goods are being sent outside India. Now, let me explain it with the help of some examples. Now the situation is goods transportation services. Now what is the rule in case of goods transportation services? Then in this case the place of supply is determined on the basis of who is the recipient. Who is the recipient? Now if the recipient is a registered person, if the recipient is a registered person, then we have different rules. If the recipient is unregistered person, then we have different rules. If the recipient is a registered person, then what is the place of supply? Location of this recipient. And if the recipient is unregistered person, then two situations can arise. Where is the destination of goods? Is the destination of goods within India or is the destination of goods outside India? In this case, the place of supply is not the location of the recipient. The place of supply is the place where the goods have been handed over. For their transportation. Not the destination. In fact, the place where the goods will be uploaded. Not uploaded. This is not a file which can be uploaded. Not uploaded, loaded on the truck. If the destination is outside India, then the place of destination which is outside India. That is the answer of goods transportation services, section 12, subsection 8. So it is technically in serial number, it is my sixth specified service. Now let us start assuming the examples. Example 1. Mr. X, a registered person in Assam, has hired Radha Transporters, a transport company, Radha Transporters, to send the goods to Lucknow, UP. Now, one thing is sure that Radha transporter is in, for example, Kolkata, West Bengal. Now, location of supplier as well as recipient is in India. Now, who is the supplier? Radha transporter will supply transportation trucks. And who will get these services? Mr. X. Now, both are in India and it is goods transportation service. And the recipient, Mr. X, is a registered person. Then, what is the place of supply? In this case, the place of supply is what? Assam, Kolkata, or UP. What is the place of supply? Location of the recipient, and it is Assam. Assam government will get the revenue, not the government of Kolkata where this transporter is registered, or Lucknow where the goods will be sent. The place of supply is Assam. I hope the point is clear. Next example. Whenever you face any problem, please ask. Mr. X, suppose unregistered person in Andhra hired Deepak Transport Services. Deepak Transporter of New Delhi to send his goods to his sister who lives in Manipur. Now, supplier is whom? Transporter. This person will give the truck. Recipient is whom? Sister or Mr. X? Mr. X is the recipient. And since the recipient is an unregistered person, the place of supply is what? Mr. X being a recipient who is unregistered. Now, is the destination of goods within India? Answer is yes. Within India, goods have to be sent to Manipur. Now, the place of supply in that case becomes the place where the goods have been handed over for the transportation. So, where the goods have been handed over, my transporter may be from New Delhi, but I have handed over his goods. His goods means I am assuming that the goods are in Andhra Pradesh, which were at Andhra Pradesh. So, if at Andhra Pradesh the goods have been handed over, then the place of supply becomes Andhra. I hope the point is clear. Same example, if I assume that, goods are, he must be sending his goods, but goods are not in Andhra. Goods are in Punjab, Punjab. And in Punjab, Ludhiana, for example. So goods were in Ludhiana. As Mr. X, I live in Andhra Pradesh. Some of my goods are in Punjab. And from Punjab, I want to send the goods through the transporter of New Delhi at my sister's residence, who is in Manipur. Now, in this case, can you tell me what is the place of supply?
So Punjab.
Yes, Punjab becomes the place of supply, where the goods have been handed over for the transportation. Now, see the relevance of place of supply. See the relevance. There can be 4 different states in this example, but there is no dispute. So, no state will fight because Act makes it clear that which state gets the tax collection. Punjab is the government because I have handed over the goods at Punjab. Example 3. Mr. Y, an unregistered person in Madhya Pradesh, unregistered person in Madhya Pradesh has hired Ludhiana Golden. It's not the place of Ludhiana, it's the name of transporter, a transporter. Of New Delhi is the name of transport company to send some goods to Canada. Now, can you tell me the place of supply? Can you tell me the place of supply?
So Canada.
Canada is the place of supply because unregistered person outside India. Then outside India is the place of supply. In the same example, if I assume that Mr. Y is registered, then can you tell me the place of supply? If Mr. Y is a registered person in Madhya Pradesh, hired Ludhiana Golden Transporter of New Delhi to send the goods to Canada, can you tell me the
Madhya
place of
Pradesh.
supply? Yes. Then it does not matter whether the goods are destined for India or outside India. The place is location of the recipient, it is Madhya Pradesh. So this is not the benefit of place of supply. It removes any discussion or any clash issues. It's clear. Next point. 7th point. Passenger transportation service. Section 12, subsection 9. Earlier I was discussing with the situation of goods transportation and now we have passenger transportation. What is the rule of place of supply? So let me again first show you the Bayer Act. Place of supply of passenger transportation service to, here also it depends who is the recipient, to a registered person, clause A. That means if the recipient is a registered person, the place of supply shall be the location of such person. So as far as goods transportation is concerned or passenger transportation, this answer is same. If you are a registered person, then location of recipient matters as far as place of supply is concerned. Clause B, a person other than a registered person. Now in case of goods transportation, my answer was the place where the goods are handed over for the transportation. And now also technically it may be different, but logically it is same. Because you cannot hand over the individual human being. So what they have used, the word or the sentence which they have used is that if the recipient of passenger transportation is an unregistered person, then like when you book the air tickets or the IRCTs, ticket of Indian Railways, you apply such rule. The place of supply depends on section 12 subsection 9. So in clause B, if you are an unregistered person, the place of supply of passenger transportation service shall be the place where the passenger embarks. Embarks means when to take, embarks on the conveyance. So whether that conveyance is rail, road, truck, air, whatever, for a continuous journey. This is the place of supply when the recipient is an unregistered person, where the passenger embarks to take that conveyance for a conveyance journey, continuous journey. Now, continuous journey, I will tell you, it's not so simple as it is looking like. I'm not concerned with this general English meaning of continuous journey, I have to refer the act. So I will tell you that. Before that, but there is an exception because so many times you do not know that where you are going. Provided that where the right to passage is given for future use. Now suppose I am purchasing the ticket today, but I am not traveling today. Maybe I will travel after 6 months. Maybe I will travel after 6 months. And the point of embarkation is not known at the time of issue of right to passage. And I do not know today the ticket which I am purchasing, which I will utilize after 6 months. Today I do not know where I will go with that ticket. Delhi Metro card is the best example. When you purchase this smart card of Delhi Metro and you pay 200 rupees at any station, do you know that after some time where will you go? Now, this smart card is giving you a right to passage for future use, but point of embarkation is not known at the time of issue of right to package. I don't know after some time I will go where. So point of embarkation is not known. In that cases, the place of supply of such service shall be determined in accordance with the provisions of subsection 2, and I told you that section 12 subsection 2 is a residuary section which deals with place of supply. So in case of passenger transportation service, answer is not tough. It is similar to goods transportation. When as a recipient you are registered, then your location is the place of supply. When as a recipient you are not registered, then your location is not the place of supply. The place where you embarks on the conveyance for a continuous journey is the place of supply. However, whenever the right to passage is given for future use and the point of embarkation of journey is not known at the time of this right of passage, then in that case you have to take the help of residuary provision of section 12 subsection 2. I will show you that. Now there are some explanations given for section 12 subsection 9, or one explanation only. The purposes of this subsection, that means section 12 subsection 9, the return journey shall be treated as separate journey even if the right to passage for onward and return journey is issued at the same time. I will tell you this. But before discussing or simplify this entire provision, let me give you an idea of residuary section also, subsection 2. Then I will start simplifying this for you. This is subsection 2. The place of supply of services except these services specified in subsection 3 to 14, because in 3 to 14 we have special rules. Any service other than 3 to 14, if that service is same thing to a registered person, then location of this registered person is the answer. If to any unregistered person, then what is the answer? Then also location of the recipient provided address exists. Address of this unregistered person is available in the records of the supplier. If no address of the unregistered person is available on the records of the supplier, then location of supplier of services in other case. Let me first simplify this for you. Otherwise, you will not understand it correctly. So let me first simplify this. Then we will discuss the examples. Place of supply. Who is the recipient? If registered recipient. Or unregistered recipient. If registered recipient, the place of supply is what? Location of the recipient. If unregistered recipient, it is similar to goods transportation. In goods transportation, we use the concept where the goods are handed over for the transportation. Now we will use the concept, the place where the passenger embarks. Embark means take, embarks on the conveyance. Suppose you are catching a train from New Delhi. So from New Delhi you are embarking on a train. Embarks on the conveyance for a continuous journey. Now this word is different. Continuous journey. I will show you this. What is this word? But there is an exception. However, there is an exception. Whether you are a registered person or unregistered person, this exception is applicable for both the situations. If right to passage is given for future use, that means while issuing the tickets, you are not issuing the ticket for current use, it is for future. And not only for future use, you don't know in future where you will, from where you will catch that conveyance. If right to passage is given for future use, and the point of embarkation is not known, so not only future use, you should not check only future use. At the same time, if future use, but I know that in future from which state I will embark the conveyance, then this exception is not applicable. Both the conditions must be satisfied. It is for future use, and in future you do not know the point of embarkation. Then only you apply this rule. Then Act says that determine the place of supply as per residuary section, section 12, subsection 2. And what that section says, if recipient is registered, if recipient is registered, then place of supply is what? Location of recipient. If recipient is not registered, still what is the answer? Location. Still what is the answer? Location of recipient if the address exists. This is the new point. This is the first case where I am saying that when the recipient is unregistered, location of recipient can be the answer. This is the first time which I am saying this word. Location of recipient if address on record exists. Not only address exists. Address to सबका होता है, but address on record. I will show you what do I mean by address on record exists. And location of supplier. If recipient unregistered, then location of supplier. If address on record does not exist. If address on record does not exist. So this is what passenger transportation service. Remember, place of supply is if registered recipient or unregistered. If registered, location of recipient. Unregistered, same thing, where the passenger embarks on a continuous journey. The process is similar, just like goods transportation. There we use the sentence where the goods have been handed over for the transportation. The purpose is same, where you take steps to embark on a journey. However, whether you are registered or unregistered, if the right to passage is given for future use and at the same time if point of embarkation is not known, then also you need to check different rule. If registered, location of recipient is the answer. So in this case I can say that for registered, whether point of embarkation etc. is there or not, answer remains same, location of recipient. Only in unregistered the answer is changed. So I can say that whenever the recipient is registered person, then it does not matter. In case of passenger transportation, whenever recipient is a registered person, answer always remains location of recipient. Whether point of embarkation is not or not, answer always remain location of the recipient. If recipient is unregistered, then my answer will change. If recipient is unregistered, then my answer is where the passenger embarks on the conveyance for a future continuous journey, or if it is for future use and point of embarkation is also not known, then my answer will be location of recipient if address on record exists, location of supplier if address on record does not exist. Now let me start assuming some examples. Passenger transportation, let me start assuming some examples. Or before that, let me discuss those meanings with you. Continuous journey and address on record. So let me show you the IGST Act again. Continuous journey. Now continuous journey is not written in section 12. I have shown that. Because what is the sequence to check the definition? First to check that respective section. So nothing is mentioned about continuous journey in section 12. So that is why I am going to the main section, section 2 of the IGST Act. Section 2, subsect clause 3 defines continuous journey. Now see this. Continuous journey means a journey for which a single or more than one ticket or invoice is issued at the same time, either by a single supplier of service or through an agent acting on behalf of more than one supplier of service. Doesn't matter, ignore this point. Which involves no stopover between any of the legs of the journey for which one or more separate tickets or invoices are issued. Now suppose you are purchasing an air ticket and traveling from Delhi to Canada, and that is not a direct flight. Suppose you are traveling from Delhi to Canada through Europe, and maybe for example, so Delhi to UK, UK to Canada. This is the leg of journey. Delhi, UK, UK, Canada. Delhi, UK, UK, Canada. This is a continuous journey. As we can see the language. Journey for which single or more than one ticket is issued at the same time. So Delhi, UK, UK, Canada, it's a same journey. Maybe one ticket, Delhi, UK, UK, Canada, maybe there is one ticket or more than one ticket, doesn't matter. But both the things have happened at the same time. So you got the bill at the same time. And which involves no stopover, this is relevant. Which involves no stopover, that is relevant. Stopover means what? Where you can disembark. Suppose from Delhi to UK when you are going, you can disembark at UK and you can take another flight next day from UK to Canada. That is known as stopover. That is known as stopover. When you are not allowed to leave the station or the airport, that means there is no stopover. So what is the meaning of stopover? Explanation says this. The term stopover, for the purpose of this clause, the term stopover means a place where a passenger can disembark. For what purpose? Either to transfer to another conveyance or break his journey for a certain period. Now certain period is not defined. Certain period is not defined. It can be 1 day, 2 day, 10 day, doesn't matter. Certain period in order to resume it at a later point of time, that is known as stopover. So what is the meaning of continuous journey? That you are going to Canada from Delhi through UK. You got two tickets, Delhi UK, UK Canada. But you have to travel continuously. Even if the flight will take 1 hour, for example, for refueling purposes at UK, you cannot disembark on UK and you can resume the later flight. That is not allowed to you. That means you have to wait for 1 hour within UK airport. You cannot take another flight. You cannot resume it later. On that single ticket, that 1 hour is not known as stopover. That is the stoppage of flight, so that new passengers can come, and those passengers, because so many times direct flight is not available. So that may be a stopover in English sense, but not in the sense of the Income Tax Act. Sorry, GST laws. That is not known as stopover because you cannot break your journey. You have to travel from UK itself. You cannot go outside UK. The immigration laws will not allow you to go outside UK. That stopover is not stopover in real sense for the provisions of GST laws. You cannot disembark. You cannot disembark. You cannot break your journey. So you have to travel after 1 hour from the same flight to Canada. So this is continuous. So technically when you go by the word continuous, don't think that I should travel from Delhi to Canada direct. No, you can travel from Delhi to Canada indirectly also. Still it can be called as continuous journey, but you have to make sure that there is no stopover involved. This is the meaning of continuous journey. And one more point was address on record. Now that is in CGST Act, address on record. I will tell you, show that CGST Act later on. Address on record means the address which is available in the records of the supplier. If I am availing some services, then whatever address is available in my supplier's record for me, that becomes address on record. The address may be wrong or correct, that is another case. But whatever address of the recipient is available in supplier's record, my real address may be different because maybe, for example, 2 days ago I shifted to a new residence. So my current address is actual address. But maybe I haven't informed to the supplier. So in supplier's record, my old address must be continuing. So whatever address is continuing in supplier's record, that is known as address on record. Now, first let me discuss with you some points. Some examples, not points. Let us discuss some examples. So what is continuous journey? It is defined in section 2, clause 305 GST Act. Single invoice is issued and no stopover. What do I mean by stopover? What do you mean by stopover? Stopover means where I can disembark or break my journey to resume it later. It is known as stopover. But there is no stopover, for example. Then it is continuous journey. Address on record means it is under CGST Act. It may be section 2, clause 2 or 3. That is in the initial, because this is first word is A and second word is also D. Okay, so that is in the beginning clauses of section 2 CGST Act. It says address of the recipient in supplier's record. That is known as address of record. Address of the recipient in supplier's record. And one more explanation was there. If you remember the IGST Act, section 12, subsection 9, one more explanation was there, that return journey.
Sir, excuse me.
Yes, yes.
Whatever you have written, it's not visible, sir.
Not visible.
For me, it's not visible, sir.
What is visible then?
So just the act is visible.
If act is visible, why don't you telling me? I have written so many things and you are not telling me that it is not visible.
Yes, sir. Now it's visible, sir.
So this is what I have discussed. In continuous journey, section 2.3, single invoice, no stopover, and stopover means address on record available in supplier's report, and return journey, that is mentioned in explanation. If you remember, that is mentioned in explanation to section 12.9 of the IGST. If you remember, this was the explanation that a return journey is treated as a separate journey. Don't take it as one journey. A return journey is always treated as separate journey. Always. For example, if you have taken a flight from Delhi to Goa and at the same time return Goa to Delhi, same time. It's not that you are purchasing separately. You are purchasing on the spot, because most of the times when we go for traveling purpose, we purchase return ticket also. Now that is known as return journey, but these are separate. So Delhi to Goa will be treated as one journey. It may be purchased at same time, but these are two journeys. This is what explanations mentioned. Now let me start assuming some examples. Now let me start assuming some examples. Now you should try to tell me the answer. Suppose Mr. A, a registered person in New Delhi, registered person is traveling from Mumbai to Kolkata. I am registered in Delhi, but I am traveling from Mumbai to Kolkata in Air India flight. Now, what is the place of supply? This is my question. What is the place of supply? Any answer? What is the place of supply?
So Delhi.
Delhi.
Sir,
Because
Delhi.
recipient, yeah, recipient is a registered person, then location of recipient is the place of supply. I might be traveling from Mumbai to Kolkata, but government says the place of supply becomes New Delhi. This is my first example. Next example. Now I am unregistered. Mr. B, an unregistered person. In Gujarat. I am unregistered, but I am based in Gujarat. Now I am traveling from Mumbai to Paris through Air India, and the journey is what? Through Mumbai. The flight is not going to Paris. Mumbai, Kolkata, where, and Paris. This is what the journey is. Now, what is the place of supply? What is the place of supply? Any answer? What is the place of supply?
So Mumbai, because it's a continuous journey.
Yes, because it is a continuous journey. Because I am assuming that it is a continuous journey. Okay, if nothing is mentioned, I am assuming that continuous is what I have assumed, that there is no stopover. So this is what you have to assume. If nothing is mentioned, that it is a continuous journey. If it is a continuous journey, then of course the answer will be the place where the passenger embarks on the conveyance. I am going from Mumbai to Paris. So Mumbai becomes the place of supply. and I am unregistered. Had I been a registered person, the place of supply would have been Gujarat. But since I am unregistered person, then the place of supply is where the passenger embarks on a continuous journey. Third example. Now again, Mr. C, a registered person, again in Mumbai, and now, or rather than taking any separate example, let me make the change here. That in this case, suppose I am a registered person in the above example. What is the place of supply then? I have
Gujarat.
simply, in second example, I have simply made the person registered. Same thing, traveling from Mumbai to Paris, through Mumbai, Kolkata, Kuwait, Paris, journey, continuous journey. What is the place of supply? Any answer?
Gujarat.
Gujarat is the place of supply. So when someone is registered, then it does not matter from where you embark. Very good. Third example, Mr. D. And now suppose I am an unregistered person and I am from Gurugram, Haryana. Now I am traveling to Goa, going to Goa. And what I did, I purchased the return ticket also at the same time. So Delhi, from Delhi airport to Goa and Goa to Delhi and Goa to Delhi. So from Delhi to Goa, I will go on 13th evening, 13th December evening or 13th December night, and will reach at 14th December morning Goa, early morning. And while returning, I will leave Goa. There was 4 days stay. So for example, on 18th December, I will be leaving from Goa. This is what the point is. Now in this case, what should be the place of supply? Can you tell me the place of supply? Think carefully and then tell me the place of supply. Unregistered person, Gurugram, Haryana, catching a flight from Indira Gandhi International Airport in Delhi to Goa and Goa to Delhi return. Tickets are purchased at the same time. Tickets purchased
So
at
address, is the address written?
no, no. Address, what you were saying? Address?
So is the address available?
No, address not available.
Okay, okay, sir.
But address is not required because you fail to see one thing. Let me show you that explanation you have not seen. Answer depends on that explanation. Now, what is that explanation? See carefully. The explanation was this was the explanation. For the purposes of this section, the return journey, this is what Delhi, Goa, Goa, Delhi. So this was return journey, shall be treated as a separate journey, even if the right to passage for onward and return journey is issued at the same time. Of course, had I purchased these tickets, now when you are asking from me the address, that means you have not yet seen the point. Address is required when the point of embarkation is not known, but here the point of embarkation is known clearly when I purchase the ticket. I know that I am taking the flight from Delhi when I am going to Goa, and I know that while coming to Delhi back, I will take the flight from Goa. So why address is required? It is required when right to passage is for future use, but point of embarkation is not known. Are you getting my point or no? The person who has asked me the address. Is the point clear?
Yes, sir, it's clear.
Okay, now second thing. It is a return journey. Delhi Goa, Goa to Delhi. Though the tickets have been purchased at the same time, but as per the provisions of the Act, treat these as separate journeys. So technically there are two questions involved. Now technically there are 2 points involved in this example. And what are those 2 points? That so one point is Delhi Goa and second point is Goa Delhi. So technically what is the place of supply? For Delhi Goa journey, for Delhi Goa journey, the place of supply is what? Registered or unregistered?
Delhi.
Unregistered, the place of supply is the point of embarkation, which is Delhi. And for Goa Delhi flight,
It's
because
Goa.
this return journey is separate journey, the place of supply is what? Goa. I hope the point is clear. And now, last point. Mr. Dhanush from Chennai is visiting Delhi, visits Delhi and purchased Delhi Metro card to travel in Delhi Metro. Delhi Metro card for rupees 500. Now, can you tell me the place of supply? The place of supply in this case on 500, the GST will go to which government? Can you tell me the place of supply? Dhanush is unregistered. What is the place of supply?
Chennai,
Yes, yes.
Delhi, sir.
Chennai.
What is the place of supply?
Since the place of
Chennai, sir.
embarkment is not known, so address of the recipient.
Can you speak again?
Sir, Chennai.
Chennai is the place of supply. Okay, any other answer? Now this case is covered in that exception. And what was that exception? Or you can say provided conditional. Rather than using the word exception, I should say that it is a separate situation where right to passage is for future journey. When I purchase the metro code of 500, the passage will be I can travel in Delhi metro even in future. So I think this point is clear that right to passage is for future. And in future also, the point of embarkation is not known. Do you know the point of embarkation? No, you don't know the point of embarkation. You can travel. I don't know whether from Delhi metro, from Delhi Vishwavidyalaya metro station. I don't know. In future, I will travel to Faridabad, to Noida, to Gurugram. I do not know. Point of embarkation is not known. If this is the case, then how do you check the answer? The place of supply. If registered, answer is location of the recipient. But here the person is not registered. Mr. Dhanush is not registered. Then what is the answer? So two things. Is address on record available? Answer is no. Delhi Metro never maintains the address of the people who are purchasing the car. So address on record does not exist. If it does not exist, then I will check the location of supplier. And location of supplier, Delhi Metro is registered in New Delhi. So the answer will be New Delhi. Had for example in future Delhi Metro starts recording the address also, then my answer would have been Chennai. But now in current situation I can say that the answer is the address of Delhi Metro, New Delhi. Please raise your hand if this. Please raise your hand if the concept is clear. Very good. So that's all from my side. So today we have covered two little bit lengthy services, goods transportation and passenger transportation. Tomorrow I will start another another service, and we will try to wind up the remaining services of section 12 in tomorrow's class. Goodbye for now. Thanks.